They say every man in the West carries two things with him, a story and a sin. My name's Elijah Cole, though folks mostly remember me as Sheriff Cole. Been near 20 years since I pinned that star to my chest, and even longer since I believed it meant something. Some nights sitting by the fire, I can still hear the wind whistle through the mesquite trees out by Dustwater Gulch. That's where it all went wrong. You see, the thing about justice in the old territories, it wasn't written in no law book. It was written in blood, in dust, and in the look a man gave you when he knew he was beat. I wasn't always the kind of man you'd trust with your life. Truth is, I wasn't even the kind of man you'd trust with your horse. But fate's a funny old snake. It wraps itself around your boots till you can't tell whether you're walking your own path or dancing to its rattle. And that's how it was the day I met Silas Boone. It was July of '83, hotter than the devil's breath and twice as mean. The kind of dry heat that makes the horizon shimmer like a bad dream. I was sitting outside the sheriff's office, boots up, hat low, listening to the creak of the windmill and the faraway clatter of the blacksmith. Then I heard the sound, hooves. Slow, deliberate, like the rider wasn't in no hurry to get where he was going. When he stopped in front of me, I knew right off he wasn't no ordinary drifter. Tall fella, lean black duster coat flapping behind him, dust caked up to his knees. He didn't say a word at first, just tipped his hat and looked past me at the town. That's when I saw it. A scar running from the corner of his mouth clean up to his eye, twisted his smile into something that wasn't quite human. "You the law in this town?" he asked, voice like gravel and smoke. "Depends who's asking," I said. He gave a grin that didn't reach his eyes. "Name's Boone. Silas Boone." "Well, Mr. Boone," I said, "what brings you to Dustwater Gulch?" "Ain't much here, 'cept tumbleweeds and broken dreams." He looked at me real slow. "I'm looking for a man." "Ain't we all?" I muttered. He leaned in, voice dropping low. "Name's Harlan Pike. You know him?" The name hit me like a bullet I'd forgotten about, a ghost from a past I'd buried. "Can't say I do," I lied. Boone just stared, that crooked smile never changing. "If you see him, tell him I'm coming." Then he turned his horse and rode out toward the desert, leaving a cloud of dust and a pit in my stomach that wouldn't quit. Dustwater Gulch weren't much of a town, even by frontier standards. A dozen wooden buildings, one saloon, one church, and one graveyard, all built out of the same wood, just different levels of rot. The townsfolk were simple. Miners, ranch hands, widows, and drifters looking for a place to hide from their past. And me, I was the fool trying to hold it all together. Every man had his ghosts, but Boone's arrival stirred up something deeper. Old wounds, old debts, and that name, Harlan Pike, kept rattling in my skull like a loose bullet in a tin can. That night, the saloon was restless. Piano off-key, whiskey cheap, laughter forced. Miss Clara poured drinks like she was pouring medicine, quick and without eye contact. She'd been here longer than most, seen this town rise and crumble twice over. "You look spooked, Sheriff," she said, setting down my glass. "Just a long day," I told her. "Boone, wasn't it?" she asked. "That fella came riding through this morning?" I looked up slow. "You seen him?" "Mm-hmm. Didn't drink, didn't talk. Just sat by the window, watching the street like he was waiting on someone." I finished my whiskey in one swallow. "Clara," I said, "if that man comes back, you send word, quick." She nodded. "Who is he, Cole?" I stared at the amber glass, seeing the reflection of a younger man, one I barely recognized. He's a reminder, I said quietly, of a mistake I thought I'd buried. Later that night, I rode out to the edge of town. The moon hung low, fat and yellow, painting the desert in silver and bone. I found the old gallows behind the sheriff's station, wood cracked, rope still hanging, swinging lazy in the wind. Beneath it, the ground was scarred where men had met their end. I remembered one in particular, a man named Harlan Pike. Thief, killer, charmer. He'd rolled into Dustwater years ago, smiling like he owned the place. By the time we realized what he was, 3 men were dead and the bank was empty. I caught him myself. Tied him, tried him, and hanged him. Or at least, I thought I did. But Boone's words wouldn't leave my head. Tell him I'm coming. Couldn't sleep that night. Every creak of the windmill sounded like footsteps. Every howl of the coyote like laughter. I sat by the fire till dawn, hand never leaving my gun, wondering if a man I hanged was truly dead, or if the devil had just loaned him back. 3 days passed. The sun beat down harder each morning, like the Lord himself was trying to burn us off the face of the earth. Folks were nervous, horses restless, and the desert quiet, too quiet. I'd seen that kind of silence before. It's the kind that comes before gunfire. On the 4th day, he came back. Silas Boone. Rode in slow, same black coat, same look of a man who'd buried too many friends. Only this time, he wasn't alone. Behind him trailed 2 others. Rough types, the kind that wore dust and sin like second skin. One had a scar across his neck, the other a limp that spoke of bullet wounds. They stopped in the middle of the street. I was standing out front of the sheriff's office, thumb resting near my holster, sweat itching down my back. "You got a mighty short memory, Sheriff," Boone called out. "I remember enough," I said. "Then you know why I'm here. I told you, I don't know no Harlan Pike." Boone spat in the dirt. "That's so?" he said, eyes squinting under the brim. "Funny thing, Sheriff, 'cause I got a letter says otherwise." He reached in his coat and pulled out a folded piece of paper, creased, dirty. I took it from him, unfolded it slow. It was a confession, signed in my own hand. My blood ran cold. "Where did you get this?" "From the man you hanged," Boone said. The street went silent. "You're lying," I said. "Am I?" He leaned in, voice low as a rattler's hiss. "You ever wonder why that body was gone come morning?" I froze, because I had wondered. Harlan Pike's body, gone from the gallows the next sunrise. Folks said coyotes, maybe grave robbers. I wanted to believe that, but deep down I knew better. That night I couldn't rest. I poured whiskey till I couldn't taste nothing but fire, staring at that letter on my desk. The handwriting was mine, but I didn't remember writing it. I confessed to the murder of Marshal Abram Pike. My heart near stopped. Not Harlan Pike. Abram Pike. The marshal from Redstone County. A man I'd ridden with. And betrayed. The letter was dated 10 years back. The year I left Redstone for good. My hand trembled. "What are you trying to tell me, Boone?" I muttered to the empty room. I didn't get an answer, but I did get company. The door creaked open. Miss Clara stood there, pale as dust. "Cole," she said, "you'd best come quick. There's trouble at the saloon." I strapped on my gun, shoved the letter inside my coat, and followed her out into the dark. The saloon was chaos. One of Boone's men, the limper, lay face down in a pool of whiskey and blood. The other had his gun drawn, screaming for the barkeep to talk. "He said Pike was dead," the man hollered. "He lied." I stepped through the door, slow. "Put the gun down," I said. He swung toward me. "You the law?" "That's what they tell me." "Then you best arrest Boone. He's lost his damn mind." "Ain't that contagious?" I said. He laughed once, bitter, then went for his gun. My hand moved faster. One shot echoed, sharp, final. He hit the floor before the glass stopped rattling. Boone came down the stairs, slow, calm as a preacher. "Always quick on the draw, Sheriff," he said. "Same as before." I holstered my Colt. "You send your men to stir trouble in my town?" "They weren't my men," Boone said softly. "They were his." "Who's his?" Boone smiled that twisted smile again. "You really don't remember, do you?" He pulled a small locket from his coat and tossed it to me. Inside was a faded picture. A woman. My wife. Boone's voice dropped to a whisper. "Harlan Pike took her life. I took his name. Now I'm taking yours." The world spun sideways. I could barely breathe. "You're lying," I said again, weakly this time. Boone stepped closer, eyes dark as oil. "You killed Abram Pike, my brother, for gold. Then you ran, changed your name, became the sheriff of a town that didn't know your sins." My hands shook. "That ain't true." "Ain't it?" He reached into his coat again and pulled out a badge. Old, tarnished. It read, "Marshal Abram Pike." "He was a good man," Boone said, voice trembling. "And you left him to die." He cocked his revolver. "So now, Sheriff Cole, you answer for it." The saloon went still. I could hear my heart pounding. Then, thunder. Not from the sky, from the street. Dozens of hoofbeats. A gang riding in. Torches, rifles, shadows moving like ghosts. "Who the hell are they?" I asked. Boone smirked. "The ones who remember what you did." I looked out the window, saw the banner they carried. Redstone Rangers. My past had come riding home. The first shot broke the silence like glass. Then all hell followed. Bullets shattered windows, torches flew, the saloon went up in flames before I could even draw a breath. Boone was gone, disappeared into the smoke. I dragged Clara out the back, coughing, blind from the heat. "You gotta leave," I told her. "And you?" she asked. "I got debts to settle." She grabbed my arm. "Cole, whatever you did, make it right." I nodded once, then turned back toward the fire. The Rangers were pouring through the street. 20, maybe 30 of them, guns flashing, eyes full of vengeance. I ducked behind the trough, reloaded, and fired back. For every shot I took, 2 came whistling back. The air stank of gunpowder and death. By dawn, half the town was gone. Burned, broken, or buried, and I was still breathing. Barely. The fire died out by morning, but the smoke hung over Dustwater like a funeral veil. I'd lost count of the bodies. Men I knew. Men I didn't. The streets were painted red, and my badge, well, it didn't shine much anymore. I found Boone out by the old well, sitting his horse like the devil waiting on judgment. He didn't reach for his gun. Neither did I. "Didn't figure you'd survive the night," he said. "Guess the devil's still got plans for me." He laughed once. "Maybe so." The sun was rising, turning the sand to fire. For a long time, we just stared at each other. 2 men with too much past between them and no road left to ride. "Tell me something, Boone," I said. "Why now? After all these years?" He took off his hat, ran a hand through his dust-caked hair. "Because ghosts don't rest till the truth's been told." He nodded toward the horizon. "There's a place, 10 miles west. A grave that ain't marked. That's where it started, and that's where it ends." I climbed into the saddle. My gun was heavy, my heart heavier. Together, we rode out. 2 shadows stretching long in the heat. The spot was easy to find. A single oak stump, blackened by lightning, standing alone in the wasteland. Boone dismounted, dropped to one knee, and brushed the sand away with his hand. There it was, a wooden cross, weathered near to nothing, I knelt beside him, read the name carved faint, Marshall Abram Pike. My throat went dry. You remember now? Boone asked. I stared at that name till my vision blurred. I remember, I whispered. He was my friend. Boone's jaw clenched. He was my brother. I didn't kill him, I said. I swear it. We were ambushed. Bandits out of Redstone Canyon. We both got hit. I thought he was gone. I ran to get help. Came back. The body was gone. Boone's eyes burned with grief. You left him to die alone. I did. And then you built yourself a new name, a new life, on top of that grave. I couldn't argue. Every word cut deep because it was true. Boone stood, drew his revolver. He told me your name before he died, he said quietly. Said you were the only man he ever trusted. Told me if I found you, to forgive you. The wind picked up, dry and mean. Then why point that gun at me? I asked. Boone's voice broke. Because I can't. The sound of the hammer clicking back echoed across the desert. I didn't move. Didn't breathe. I just looked at him, a man torn between blood and mercy. If it'll give you peace, I said, then do it. He hesitated. The sun slipped behind a cloud. For a second, everything went still, like the world was holding its breath. Then the shot rang out. A bird scattered from the rocks. I stayed standing. Boone stared at his gun, smoke rising from the barrel. You missed, I said softly. No, he whispered. I aimed where it hurt worse. He turned, walked back to his horse, climbed up, and rode off slow into the glare of the sun. I stood there a long while, staring at that grave. My knees gave out, and I dropped beside it. Pulled off my badge, laid it in the dirt. You got your justice, Abram, I said. Now let the rest of us be. The wind blew, covering the cross with sand till it disappeared again. Maybe that's how it should be. Weeks later, what was left of Dustwater was rebuilding. Clara ran the new saloon. The preacher buried the dead. Me, I packed what little I had and rode west. Folks asked why I left. I told them the truth. Ain't no lawman left in me. Just a man trying to make peace with the ghosts that ride behind. Nights on the trail, I'd make camp under the same stars that watched over me all my life. Sometimes, when the wind shifts just right, I swear I can still hear Boone's voice. Ghosts don't rest till the truth's been told. Maybe that's why I tell these stories now, so the ghosts can rest and the fire can keep burning. Pause. Crackle of fire. Wind fades out. They say every man in the West carries two things with him, a story and a sin. I reckon this one's mine.